What's up, guys? Sportsmafia back here to talk about the 5 NBA teams that are most likely to overreact this upcoming offseason. But before we get started, please hit the subscribe button in the bottom right corner of this video. After you have subscribed, please comment, "I subscribed," and we promise we will personally reply to your comment. Thank you, and let's get started. Number 5 is the Washington Wizards. The Wizards went into the season suspension with a .375 winning percentage and the second worst defense in NBA history. That hasn't stopped them from plotting an aggressive move up the ladder this offseason. My goal for the Wizards and our goal together is to kind of elevate this team quickly and get back to the playoffs, get deeper in the playoffs, Wizards general manager Tommy Shepard said. It's not going to happen overnight, but I can tell you that we're not going to wait for it. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to push very hard this summer to keep improving. So what's the rush? It's all connected to the return of John Wall and the spark this franchise thinks it can get from the floor general. Not to dump a bucket of frigid water on that idea, but the last time he played more than 42 games was his age 26 season. He turns 30 in September and he's now navigating life after an Achilles tear as a player who has relied heavily on his athleticism. Washington has a name brand backcourt with Wall and Bradley Beal, but it doesn't have a rich history of success with the pair. The Wizards have never won 50 games during their tenure. They have only twice advanced to the second round and never beyond it. If there's a saving grace, it's that the Wizards lack the flexibility to do anything major. That said, they'll probably throw major money at shooting specialist Davis Bertans, and they can invest either or both their mid-level exception and first-round pick in players who shine brighter for their immediate impact than their long-term potential. All arrows point to win-now moves on the horizon for an organization that last won a playoff series in 2017. Number 4 is the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are restless. That part makes sense. Their playoff drought is likely about to reach 10 years, and remember, they have suffered through its entirety in the sweltering desert heat. What doesn't make sense, though, is using that restlessness as a rationale for accelerating a rebuild when your best players are still just 23 and 21. Phoenix took that mindset into last offseason and walked away with high-floor, low-ceiling additions like Ricky Rubio, Aaron Baines, and Cameron Johnson. It netted the franchise its best record in 5 seasons, sure, but that's still only a .400 winning percentage. Even with Booker's all-star ascension and Ayton's two-way growth, this roster looks at least one more impact player away from a true breakthrough. In an ideal world, that player would likely come from the draft and fit on the same timeline as the Suns stars. More likely though, Phoenix uses the fact that it's one of the few teams with actual cap space to chase a plug-and-play veteran. Kevin Love and Danilo Gallinari were mentioned as possible trade targets in January. The Athletic's John Hollinger listed Gallinari, Davis Bertans, and Paul Millsap as free agent possibilities. Any of the three would undoubtedly help, but they aren't needle movers. The more time Phoenix invests in veterans who can help it make a first-round exit, the less it has to develop players who might eventually move this team into contention. A reasonable approach to bring in a few helpful veterans is fine. Getting carried away with short-sighted maneuvers could harm this club for years to come. Number 3 is the New York Knicks. New front office, new day for the Knicks, right? Instant gratification is a thing of the past. A patient, focused rebuild is today's plan for a brighter tomorrow. I ask for your continued patience, new team president Leon Rose wrote in an open letter to Knicks fans in March. What I promise you in return is that I will be honest and forthright. We will develop a plan that makes sense, both to jumpstart our short-term growth and ensure our long-term success. If only it were that simple. Continued patience can mean a lot of different things. Trading for 35-year-old Chris Paul and the $85.6 million owed to him for the next 2 seasons shouldn't be one of them, but it's something the Knicks are exploring. It probably also shouldn't mean locking in on 62-year-old Tom Thibodeau before a coaching search even starts, but Tibbs has already taken a pole position. What about this is patience? What about this is even rebuilding? The Knicks have neglected young talent and chased flashy names for far too long. An offseason headlined by the arrivals of Paul and Thibodeau would feel like business as usual. Number 2 is the Philadelphia 76ers. Admittedly, it isn't as catchy as championship or bust, but for the 76ers, their existence has reportedly boiled down to conference finals or everyone must go. If Philadelphia fails to advance past the second round for the 3rd straight season, the job statuses of coach Brett Brown and general manager Elton Brand will come into question, and the possibility of trading either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid will gain traction, ESPN's Tom Bontemps reported in February. Philadelphia fell one shot short of a trip to the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals. Dismantling an on-paper contender for suffering a similar fate could be a prosecutable form of an overreaction. That said, who on the Sixers can feel safe about their standing? Brown's seat has burned over for over a year. Brand's huge money investments in Tobias Harris and Al Horford look somewhere between not great and catastrophic. Simmons and Embiid have never fared worse in concert with one another. 2 years back, they steamrolled teams by 15.5 points per possessions in their shared floor time. Now, they're barely breaking even. A shakeup feels imminent. Even if it's not as dramatic as splitting up Simmons and Embiid, it might be overhauling the roster around them. Horford's contract already looks like a colossal overpay. Harris makes superstar money without superstar production, and the supporting cast perpetually lacks perimeter shooting. If not for an even more combustible situation in Space City, the Sixers would be a clear-cut choice at number 1. Number 1 is the Houston Rockets. This might be the Rockets' first season with Russell Westbrook alongside James Harden, yet they already feel like they're on borrowed time. Harden's 30th birthday is behind him, and he's the youngest of the duo. Houston's guards have also seen their efficiency sapped in previous playoff runs, and their critics will quickly point to the pair's ringless fingers as a tangible question mark about their ability to lead a title team. Speaking of decorated regular season resumes without major playoff successes, lame duck head coach Mike D'Antoni is still awaiting his first NBA Finals trip. The fact that he isn't signed beyond this season only ups the playoff pressure, as this could be his last run with the Rockets. He's one of the all-time great innovators and a great partner, Houston's general manager Daryl Morey told Jonathan Fegan of the Houston Chronicle. "I'd love for it to keep going. It takes two to tango, but we're going to figure that out in the offseason." Houston knows it's up against the shot clock. Last summer's Chris Paul for Westbrook swap was an all-in push on Harden's behalf. The deadline deal sending out Clint Capella to fully commit to small ball was an all-in move for Westbrook and D'Antoni. There aren't any chips left to push to the center of the table. It might be now or never for this iteration of the Rockets, and considering the club ranks 9th in winning percentage and 7th in net efficiency rating, maybe it's never. If the Rockets are ousted early from the playoffs, wholesale changes to the fabric of the franchise could follow shortly thereafter. That's it for today's Sports Mafia video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and would like to see more Sports Mafia content, click the circle subscribe button so you never miss a single video. Hope you enjoyed.